at your transformations booklet, we've covered translations. There's not a lot to do with translations. You're just sliding right, left, up, or down. That's it. That's going to be on your quiz. Now what we're going to cover is reflections. There are 6 different types of reflections. I know you might think, how is that possible? But there are. It depends on what it's reflecting over. That's what changes it, right? So, for instance, if you look at where I'm positioned to the rug and the floor up here, if I was to reflect, which I'm not flipping at all, but if I was to reflect my position with this edge of the rug that's the closest to me, it would mean that I go to it and then I step as the same distance to the other side, right? I've now reflected to the other side of that line of the rug. But if I reflect my position to the far edge of the rug, I've got to go to it, 3, 4. We'll count that, 4. And then I got to go past it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see how far, but I'm symmetrical to that edge of the rug, my position is. So that's why there's 6 types of reflections, because it depends on what are you reflecting over. Well, there's 6 different options. So if you take your notes, you may need a highlighter here. We've covered translation here and here. Now we're going to cover reflection over the x-axis. This is a reflection over the x-axis. So that's one direction. Do y'all need highlighters? Anybody? We've got a reflection over the x-axis. We've got a reflection over the y-axis. We're going to highlight these so they stand out in our book. Then we have a reflection over a random horizontal line. It's random, it can be anywhere. Then we have a reflection over a random vertical line. So that's 4. We have a reflection over the line y equals x, which is in the same place every time you graph it. And then there's a reflection over the line y equals negative x. We are not going to highlight this one. We've already highlighted it, it's okay. So the state has removed this from our standards. So while it's a nice to know, it's not a need to know. I left it in my booklet because I have a feeling they're going to put it back in there. And I don't understand why they took it out. It's not challenging. So we will leave that page as a nice to know. You can even please go write nice to know, but that's not something we're worried about covering. That's not going to be on a quiz, it's not going to be on a test, because it's not in the standards. Okay? So while I said there's 6 different types of reflections, we're only going to learn 5 of them. Okay? The first 2 are naturally the easiest. That's reflecting over the x-axis or the y-axis. So we're going to go back to the first 2, very first one, which would be x-axis. We'll go back to this slide. Something that really helps when you're doing these reflections is either using a highlighter or taking your pencil and drawing a dotted line where the line of reflection is, because then it gives you the visual, just like I was up here saying with the rug. Like if I'm reflecting over this edge of the rug that's closest to me, I'm going to step to it, and then I'm going to step past it. Same concept here. If I'm reflecting this pre-image over the x-axis, I need to know where the x-axis is. So you can either take your highlighter and highlight the x-axis. Oh, thought it was on the highlighter. You can highlight the x-axis, or you can take your pencil and just do like a dotted line. It's up to you. You decide what you want to do. I'm going to do a dotted line just so that I can stay on the pen for transition purposes. Because we're reflecting over the x-axis, let's think about it this way. Everybody, look up here. So this particular pre-image is up above the x-axis, right? Go with me? It's going to reflect what direction to go over the x-axis. I saw some hand movements. Y'all answer out loud for me. It's going to go down, right? If the shape were below the x-axis and I'm reflecting over the x-axis, it would go up. So while the x-axis does not move, it depends on where the shape is on if you're reflecting down or you're reflecting up. So don't say, oh, you're going down every time. No, not necessarily. Because if it was down here, it would be going up, right? So be careful there. It always depends on where the shape is. What if, here's a what if, because this is going to happen. What if the shape is sitting on the x-axis? Don't draw that. Just look up here and think out loud with me. What if the shape is, notice it is straddling the x-axis perfectly evenly, right? It is one above and one below. So if I flip that on the x-axis, it's going to be the same picture. It's not going to move at all. That's only because it's nice and pretty. Now, what if it was an odd shape? Let's say it was like this. Like that. Then it would be in the same general area, but it would change its orientation, right? This is kind of like a triangle opening up. It would end up being a triangle opening down, right? Does that make sense? So what happens if the shape is sitting on the line of reflection? Well, it means some points are going to go one way and the other points are going to go the opposite way. Okay, so be ready for that. All right, in the meantime, let's do the dang thing. So this shape is going to reflect over the x-axis, which means C is one away, so I count one past it. There's C prime. B is 1, 2, 3, 4 away, so I count 4 past it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I did that right. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is. And that's B prime. And then you also can use the fact that the shape's not supposed to change, like size, right? So I know that this D will land D prime here, and I can see that A and B are only 2 apart, so A prime should be right there. After you graph it, you should be able to visualize folding the paper along the dotted line, and the 2 shapes should match up. Okay? Think of it as like if you were painting the one shape painting, or maybe just a heavy marker or something, and then you folded your paper and the marker bled. We all have had pens bleed or markers bleed. You know, it means there's too much ink, right? And it would leave an impression if you were to fold your paper. Now, we've graphed our image, but we need our coordinate points and we need to talk about the written rule. So if you come over here, I'm actually going to highlight the written rule. Written rule right here. Remember, the second part is always the one that tells me what's going on. Notice it says negative y. Doesn't mean make it negative. It means negate it. Negate means, think of like a person that's argumentative. Everything you say, they negate it. You could say, it's a beautiful day. They'd be like, no, it's not. It's crappy. You know, it's like, okay, good grief, negative Nancy. This means it does not. That's a great question. It means that the y is always going to have a sign change. It could become negative or it could become positive. But it means there's going to be a sign change. And if you think about it, it's because we said a shape that starts up above the x-axis would flip down, which means the y-coordinate has a sign change. It never went right or left, right? It just went flip down. If the shape is down below, it would flip up. So instead of looking over here and trying to read this graph, because that's going to take longer, I can actually get my new points by just knowing the fact that I'm going to change y. Y gets a sign change. So copy x, sign change on y. 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 And that would be your coordinate points that you graphed over here. So instead of practicing a flip over the x-axis, slide to the right to page 4, and you're going to practice this concept, but this time we're flipping over the y-axis because it's the same exact concept. You're just going right or left instead of up or down, okay? So slide to the right to this page. Let's highlight that the rule has a sign change only on x. Whoa, what are you doing? Has a sign change on x. And I would like you to find the y-axis, either highlight it or draw your dotted line. And now I'd like you to graph the reflection. So you're counting how far the point is away from the line of reflection, and then you're counting past the line of reflection to plot it. So B is 2 away, so 2 past it. A is 4 away, so 4 past it. E is 7 away, so 7 past it. C is 3 away, so 3 past. instead of trying to read my coordinates, it's easier just to apply the rule. The rule is if I'm flipping left and right, think of what x-axis, just answer it. What axis runs left and right? X. So x gets the sign change. So x is the only one with a sign change. Please make sure yours matches mine before you pack up. I did just pass to you your practice assignment. It is page 34. It is just practicing reflecting over the X and the Y, and then it does have on the back, if you look at it, everybody look at it, numbers 11 and 12 say reflect the image, then translate. So you're going to do two things here. So you should have three shapes on your graph. You should have one shape that's already drawn. The next shape would be after you reflect, and then you're going to translate, so that's your third shape, okay? This is prepping you for your quiz. When you come in tomorrow, like the field trip, y'all don't leave till about 8:15, 8:30. So you'll have time, you can come in and show it to me, and you can leave. Like, I wouldn't bring a lot of stuff tomorrow. You're only going to need stuff like this for me, and then 4th block. You'll be back around, usually it gets back around 1, usually their goal is to get back at 1:50, 2 o'clock. I think they leave by 1:30. If I'm not mistaken. In years past, they usually leave them all by 1:30 because you have to be back here by a certain time in order for the buses to release you. Y'all get settled, and then the buses go run their routes in the afternoon. So you only need stuff tomorrow for 4th block and then me, this paper, okay? And you can leave your stuff in here, like in the morning, if you want. I would not take water bottles, which I'm big on needing a water. I would probably get like a plastic water bottle maybe. I wouldn't worry about bringing the nice water bottles because when you go in the movies, they're not going to let you take a water bottle into the movies. Unless you're wearing baggy clothes or have a purse and have like a water bottle. You know what I mean? I like to have water during the movie. I don't want to